They're great cameras, dude.
We're live now.
Are we?
Yep.
All right. Welcome, Mikal.
Michael. Yeah.
Okay.
You're not the first person
Dang
to mess that
it.
up, I promise.
All right. Michael, how do you say your last name?
Kelaidis.
Kelaidis. I got that right.
Yeah.
I thought it was Mikal Kelaidis.
Yeah, close. It's way closer than a lot of people.
Michael Kelaidis. All right, cool, dude. So I'm really glad that we reached out on LinkedIn. Really happy you're here.
I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, man. I think we're going to have fun. But tell us and I think it'll be really fun to dive into your story a lot because I think it resonates with a lot of people. So why don't you start by introducing yourself for everybody listening and then give us your background, your kind of story, man.
Yeah, my name's Michael. I grew up here in Salt Lake, mostly out in Sandy, and then around high school, I moved up in the Mill Creek area, went to Skyline, went to Utah State for college. First job I got out of school was working for the Utah Jazz selling season tickets.
Oh, dope.
That was a pretty fun gig for about a year. Then I got my first tech sales job working for Qualtrics down in Provo. Went from Qualtrics to Pluralsight, which is another tech sales company. And then from Pluralsight, I had stopped working there like February of 2020. And that's, the next 2 years are kind of just a mixed bag of jobs and stuff like that as the world got a little crazy. But that was my first taste of freelancing as like a photographer and like building Squarespace sites for people and stuff like that. But then I really wanted insurance. And so I got a job selling fuel cards for England Logistics out west a little bit. And then July of 2021, I went full-time freelance for a while and was just doing photography. I had one client that I was managing their Instagram and did that up until mid-December. And that's just because I got hit up on LinkedIn by a company that I work for now, Workstream. They're down in Lehigh, and interviewed with them. And yeah, it was just, I really dug the energy. It felt a lot like some of the, Qualtrics and Pluralsight. I was there kind of early as well. And it's kind of the same energy, and it got me excited. And I felt like I could fit a 9-to-5 in, and still continue the media business that I started. And so that's where I'm at now. I've been doing that pretty much since mid-December.
That's kind of where I wanted to take this, because there's a lot of 9-to-5 bashers in the world, in like the hustle culture world, which is very strange to me. I don't know why you'd really, I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Like, I feel like people who aspire to work for themselves or do something else are looking for like the soonest opportunity to make the leap. Yeah. And I think most probably do it before actually preparing and stuff like that. And one thing that I realized that made me want to go back and get a 9-to-5 is being surrounded by very experienced people and like having really good leaders. And especially in sales, the things that you learn are so universal. And so just like but in my mind, I've determined that the 9-to-5 is the side hustle. Yeah. Like my business is still like my main like passion and pride, and like it takes up most of my mental energy. Yeah. But it's like, okay, like I feel like I can learn a lot, especially at the stage of this company that we're in. It's just really, really like we're building the car as we're driving it. Like it's kind of scrambly, and I love it. And there's really smart people there. And so I like the fact that I am going to be working closely with a lot of these people during the day, especially in like a really crazy building a business time. Yeah. At a much larger scale than I would ever be involved with. Yeah. And so that's why I'm excited about the 9-to-5 is like to have leaders that are, old people that are older and more experienced than me. All the things that I'm going to learn there will translate into me being a better business owner. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. There's a direct correlation between like how you become successful in sales and how you scale your business, like your own business, right? Yeah. Because being in sales for me is always about creating business for yourself and like learning how to like be scrappy and learn that. But I like your viewpoint because I think you hit the nail on the head with that, in the sense that your 9-to-5, like it's almost like a networking opportunity. If you're in a company like that, if you're in a place like Utah where you can get jobs at startups, where you can learn you can see everything because it's all out on the table, right? Yeah. And you get to learn all the aspects and facets of the business and overhear really cool conversations. Mm-hmm. And, we were at, because I work for a company called Via, a small or not small anymore, dude. They're almost this is their unicorn year.
Oh, wow.
Bro, I think they're going to hit $1 billion this year, and it's going to be bananas if they do, if we do. So, but it's just cool. Yeah. Like you would never get that. Like I would never get that if I just like didn't You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's really fun because you get to learn, you get to be experienced. And then if you're in sales, it's like, and you're experienced in sales, sales is not that hard.
Yeah. I kind of just fell into it. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Dude, how did you get the selling jazz tickets?
So I just applied for, like, it was one of the first jobs I applied for.
Oh, really? Oh, you can just apply. So how do you
as an account executive is what I applied for.
Yeah.
And then I interviewed with them, and they were like, essentially thought that I didn't quite have enough sales experience to be in an account executive role. And so I must have done well enough in the interview that he was like, I want you to work here, just not on my team.
Oh, sure.
And so he referred me to another manager, and I ended up working in their inside sales team.
Okay. That's
cool. I think it was just, I don't know, online job board of some kind. Saw Utah Jazz. I grew up playing basketball.
What did you do? Like, you were inside sales selling season tickets, just like people call in?
Yeah, I mean,
or did you call out? Did you do
mostly
cold
calling out? Yeah, they were using Microsoft Dynamics as their CRM, which was a disaster.
Yeah, that's terrible.
I don't want to like trash talk, but it was just interesting. It was just very, and that's what kind of made me jump to tech. Is like it felt like they were still selling in like the 90s. Like we were taking credit cards with a pen and paper. And
dude, no, for sure.
So, but so they started as an inside sales rep. There's no like book of business, no geography. There's just like, there's a CRM selling. And then, start calling people that exist in there. Kind of the main thing was to try and drive people to the arena for like, to walk around and look at seats. Cause you could really sell people once you got them down to the arena.
Oh, you're wow, dude.
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
If you could convince someone to come to the arena and like walk them to their seats, walk them down on the floor, it's like really, like your like chances someone just buying over the phone happened, just not as often.
Wow. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
That's bananas, dude.
So I think part of the reason I got the job at Qualtrics is I was like, I recognized that we were doing things super outdated, and I kind of like petitioned my manager to help push to get us some iPads. Yeah. And I created like a presentation to like walk potential clients through. And then we had photos in like a shared folder for like, it was basically a view from different areas, so that it wasn't your exact seat, but you could get a good idea of what your seat would look like. So instead of like walking people all around the whole arena, we had this like little area where we would bring them down to, and then we'd kind of do a little presentation on the iPad, and it was a lot nicer. And then, when it came to purchasing, we were just they could input their information on the iPad. It was a lot nicer.
So it was just like consumers though, where you weren't selling to like businesses or
that happened sometimes, but usually you had to have it in. It was like, my dad's friend owns this business, but it was a lot of cold calling people's houses, people's cell phones, like very, very
wow, random. Dude. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't know that the Jazz cold called people to sell their season tickets.
I mean, I think that,
or maybe they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, but I think it probably, like, those numbers got on a list somehow, so.
Well, but I understand. But the fact that they like pick up the phone and call people to like me, if I enter my phone number at the Jazz Arena, it goes into the system and they're calling me to buy season tickets.
And I think if you have ever bought like a 3-game mini package or something like that, like those are a lot of the people that they hit up saying, hey, I've saw you bought some Jazz tickets before. Yeah. Pre-sale for season tickets are coming up. And just, it was like, grind, dude.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Was it just Jazz tickets, or did you sell for everybody?
Depending on the concert that came through, we could sell boxes for the concerts.
Oh, suites?
Yeah.
The suites?
Yeah.
Okay.
A limited number of those. But other than that, it was just Jazz tickets. There was a separate team for the Stars, a separate team for the Bees games.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dude, we went to a Stars game last night.
I don't think I've been to one.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not missing out.
I see highlights on Instagram. They look like,
no, they're
a college game or something.
Well, we had like
a college game.
Yeah. So there, apparently, I didn't know what the Salt Lake Stars was. I didn't know NBA G League was a thing.
Oh yeah.
I had no clue. I mean, I don't really watch basketball that much. But what was cool was about it, we had a suite.
Yeah.
We had a suite up there, and it was my work gave us the tickets.
Was it at the Jazz Arena or somewhere? Oh, okay.
No, it was at the Jazz Arena. We had suite tickets there. But apparently, like 50% of the people who play in the NBA are on the NBA roster right now. 50% came from the G League.
Yeah.
It's crazy, but they don't make any money in the G League. Like,
you got to love playing basketball
to play in the G. Yeah. It's like $37,000 a year.
I think that there used to, or maybe still is, like the NBDL. It was like the NBA developmental league. And I don't know.
It was so that league is the G League.
Okay.
Like they just rebranded and called it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's like, so they help develop them as players, and like they also let them like finish school if they're doing something like that. Like they do a lot of things to like support them.
Yeah.
If you go into the actual NBA, because it's tough. My wife and I and the friends we were with, we were talking about that. Like if you get hurt in the NBA and you didn't finish college or something like that, like you're done, dude. You know what I mean?
To fall back on. Yeah.
It's really hard.
Yeah.
You know? So, we were talking about that. It's just bananas, dude. But the NBA G League, the stars, I don't know. I don't like watching basketball anyway. So for me, I just went for the free food and the drinks in the suite.
Yeah, now it's an experience.
Yeah. So it was cool. It was like we got to see that and do some fun stuff. So it was a great experience. But I can't believe that just puts another aspect on selling. Like I hate, because we met on LinkedIn.
Mm-hmm.
I hate when people are on LinkedIn and they're like, I hate cold emails. I hate cold calling. They're like, I saw one guy on Facebook one time. He was like, I would never buy from a company who cold called people. And I was like, so who do you buy from?
Yeah.
Like I was like, so like, who do you buy? He's like, oh, he's like, what do you mean? And I'm like, dude, everybody. Yeah. Whatever your definition of cold call is, like,
I feel like to have that mindset, you have to really assume you know everything.
Yeah.
Because like as annoying as cold calls are,
they're
lot
effective.
of it, like if it's something like 90% maybe you won't need.
Sure.
And they are annoying. And even as a salesperson, I
I'm
used
like,
to just hang up on people.
Yeah.
Like this is annoying. But like I like even as a salesperson, like I would find out that people were down the road thankful that you cold called, even if initially it was annoying because you are able to maybe tell them, you know, that they're missing out on something that they don't know or something like that. So to be like, I would never buy from a cold caller is just really close-minded. I was like, do you go to like Walmart or Amazon? Like these guys cold called people to get where they are today. Like now they might not. Yeah.
But Amazon has an inside sales team and an account executive. They have a sales team.
I'm sure they
that calls on B2B.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, like Costco. Costco has a marketing department and they call it marketing, but they set dudes in there to call businesses to say like, do you want us to bring a Costco deposit? Oh, don't worry about it, dude. You're fine. But like, do you want to bring Costco to like Costco deliveries to your work?
See?
Yeah. Like they call businesses. It's like, get the heck out of here, bro. Like,
and you just don't know what you don't know.
That pisses. Yeah.
Like,
I bought some stuff off cold calls before.
When I worked at Pluralsight, a lot of these places just had no idea that there was like this gap in the way that they were upskilling their, you know, engineers. They had no idea. And so you would tell them like how some other company did it. And they were like, okay, wow, thank you. So to be that shut down to the idea of a cold call is like,
it's stupid.
Yeah.
I hate it.
Very
And
stubborn.
when people are like, cold calling's dead, I'm like, it's whatever you want to call it, bro. Because they'll be like, cold calling's dead. Check out like smart calling. And I'm like, okay, you're still calling somebody that has no clue who you are, who doesn't know that what you're doing, and you're interrupting their day. Like that's a cold call.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you can paint it however you want, but eventually you're gonna have. And I tell business owners, they're like, I hate selling, and I'm like, oh well, then don't get into business.
Yeah.
I'm like,
everything is selling.
I'm like, you have to sell your idea, and even if it is to investors. Like it might be a different sale, right? It might be a little more nuanced than maybe selling to a customer or to a business. But I mean, like there's principles that are universal, like you were talking about earlier. I love selling. Like that's
apparent for sure.
Yeah, right. Well, it's like, I'm like, dude, it really irritates me. Like when business owners are like, I'm not a salesperson. I'm like, I don't know. Then go work at McDonald's or something. Yeah. I'm like, not that working at McDonald's is bad, by the way.
Or if you want to stay behind the scenes, you're going to have to hire somebody that's willing to sell what you do.
And even the problem with that is because I meet with business owners who are like, I'm just going to outsource my sales. And I'm like, that's cool. That's great. I think you should. If you're not going to do this forever, great. But I'm like, but you can't outsource. You're going to have an unrealistic expectation of your salespeople, and you're going to get really mad at salespeople. Mm-hmm. If you don't know how to sell your own product, and if you don't understand the basics of the process.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like an accountant,
right?
Bernie Madoff happened because everybody said, I'm just going to let him take care of it because I don't want to know about it. I don't care about it.
Yeah.
And I'm never going to learn about it.
Yeah.
then that's how you get Bernie Madoff.
Yeah, he could outsource to the greatest salespeople that exist, but if he doesn't know how to accurately like explain to them what they're selling,
yeah,
how to
exactly.
sell it,
processes, who are we selling it to? Yeah,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So I go, yeah, you don't have to sell forever, but you got to sell for the first couple months or year, couple years. Cause like, or the worst part is like, we've been in sales for a while. Okay. The worst part to me is when a business owner comes up, like, cause I've seen this happen all the time where they come up and they're like, I want, they put out a job posting for a salesperson and it's a brand new company. And they're like, I need somebody to help me. I don't have any leads. I need a badass salesperson and it's commission only. And I'm like, that's a tall, like I've worked at commission only jobs as a salesperson.
Yeah.
But like they were really big. They had a database, like we knew what we were doing and we went out there and sold some stuff.
Yeah.
And it was, but like you have unrealistic expectations. Like I'm not going to go to, like I took that commission only job, but I'd probably never do another commission only job again.
Yeah.
It's just tough, dude.
I don't love sales enough to work just like commission only.
Like straight commission. Because it's just like, I mean, car salesmen are straight commission, but you got people coming through the door and you got people calling in.
And so everybody needs a car.
Yeah. And it's a little different, but you get these business owners who are like, I need somebody who's got, 5 years of experience in sales and they got to be awesome at hitting quota. And, oh, by the way, I have no process. I'm a new business owner and I'm only going to give you 30% and there's no base. And it's like, go no, dude, that's not how
good luck.
I told somebody that. They were like, do you think that's smart? I was like, no, dude, you're looking for someone like me, like 10 years, awesome at hitting quota, led sales teams or whatever. I would tell you no. I would give you like, I would tell you to go read a book and go sell yourself.
Exactly. Or like give the person 80% of what they're selling. Like then there's some incentive to like open up the ocean that they can swim in a little bit.
But even then it's like, even if somebody, because I had somebody say one time, 70% commission if you want to do this. And I'm like, yeah, but there's no like, and okay. So
there's not even line of sight to get to where you need to get.
Yeah. So, and then you got flip side on the other salespeople, but that's what I'm saying. If a young buck hears me, he'll be like, you're just not grinding hard enough. And I'm like, all right, then go do it, bro. But I'm not doing that. It's not how this works. Like real salespeople, like we have like I would do that for my own business, but I don't need to hire salespeople for my own business.
Another thing I popped into my head while you were talking is some of the first people that I ended up like working for when I first started freelancing in 2020 were these like service-based companies, like moving companies and people who have like a drywalling crew and stuff like that. Cause I noticed that their websites are terrible. So they're garbage at driving traffic for their own business. And B, the last thing they want to do is sell and like contact people and like try and grow their business. Like I just want appointments on my calendar. So like I had a couple of businesses pay me a decent amount of money to just build them a Squarespace website that would like link to their calendar with like Acuity scheduling or something. And this moving company that a friend of mine owns, he's like, he paid me $100 to build him a website. I should have charged way more, but I didn't know. But he's like, ever since you set that up, like he's like, my calendar's pretty full all the time. And like all he needed was that thing. Right. And so just going back to like people who don't think that they need sales or that don't want to sell, it's like even a business like a really service-based company, like a lawn mowing business or something like that, like everything is still sales. You have to be able to do it. You have to be able to, or marketing, or a little bit of both. Well, and I was explaining this last night. Who was I explaining this to? It was probably a podcast earlier. Oh, no. I was just on a conversation with somebody and I was explaining like marketing and sales is like a Venn diagram. Right, like we do meet in the middle, but there are some pretty distinct differences. Definitely, but there are some like copywriting. Like I wish I would have learned that earlier in my sales career. Yeah, because that's a great skill. Absolutely. Like if you're gonna write an email or you're gonna write some social messages or something like that, like you have to know how to write without sounding like without being too jargony. Yeah, you have to be able to get your point across really simply, and that's what copywriting is, right? Yeah. I'm not like a master copywriter, but I know enough, like if I had to write a landing page or if I had to like, I put some good emails together, but that's so that's like one of the places where they cross over, like landing pages. I think, if you're in sales, maybe, you should know how to do that. But marketing, it's just, businesses are like, I don't want to do any of that. I just want to help people. Well, good luck, bro. Yeah. Cause you're not fighting.
I learned it from Grant Cardone, but it always stuck with me. And he said, you're never fighting the competition. You're always fighting obscurity. Like people just don't know who you are.
Yeah.
Like that's it. You're not really like, there's no real competition.
Yeah. In most cases, there's room for everybody at the top. Like
Dude, it's not a big
there's
deal.
not a ton of places, at least that I've tried to like get into, like industry wise or ways to make money where there's like actually it's a zero sum game. Like, sometimes it is, but rarely for the things that I'm interested in.
Right.
And so there's room for everybody at the top. You just have to be good enough to get yourself out there.
Yeah. And I would say, even if it is a zero sum game, having the mindset that it's not is still, because we had like, when I sold cars, there's like 8 Honda dealerships in Utah. And there's like 5 in Salt Lake. Honda. Right. So like that's hard when you're like,
definitely
there's a white LX Honda Civic. There's 50 of those out there. How are you going to sell that to this person? Now we got to get a little creative. Right. And if they don't buy from me, they buy from somebody else. I didn't get that sale, but still there's enough people looking for that car that is not a big deal. But, but even having the mindset of like, I think it goes just some skills, but yeah, people like business owners, I think selling needs to be more, you got to be, but I like what you're doing too, because who said that? I think it was like Mark, one of the sharks. I can't remember his name, but he
Cuban.
Yeah. He was like content marketing is going to be the biggest thing in the next, like being able to make a crisp video.
Yeah.
It totally is, man.
And bringing that like full circle. That's why I decided to go back and get a sales job and work this 9 to 5 is because I realized that I wasn't as good as I thought I was at growing my like photography business and trying to offer up social media services, because there are so many photographers and there are so many,
especially in
social
Utah.
media. So that's one of those places where I feel like it's not a zero sum game. Like there are so many businesses who need content of some kind.
And you just got to figure out what they need.
And I started to realize that, and not only the sales part, but just like, I don't know, organizing a business. And as a salesperson, a lot of the time, if you do have a book of business, it's kind of like you get to run your own business. You're given kind of a box, but then within that box, it's up to you to kind of track people that you're reaching out to, like, track penetration into a certain brand or something like that, or like a certain business. And like those skills I really wanted to hone. And I feel like that's one of the benefits of going back and getting a 9 to 5.
Yeah. And I just think like a 9 to 5 is like, who cares? But like, it's one of your streams of income.
Yeah.
Like, I think we're in the day and age where like I got this job and they knew I had a podcast. And I'm like, but it's just, everybody has a side hustle. Like, I just think if you don't let somebody work for you because you have a side hustle, I think that's pretty insecure.
Yeah,
like,
definitely.
I only want somebody to work for me. Like, that's not real, dude.
Yeah. And so like initially going into this, I was like, I will exchange my time for money for now, for a bit. Like, I feel like I can learn something from this company. And I see the value in exchanging my time for money. That's what I kind of saw it as in the beginning. And now I'm more excited about the company than I was before. And so like, and again, between those hours when I'm at work and I'm working for them, like they have all of it. I'm all in and I'm ready to help. But they pay me for between this time and this time. And so when I leave work, I don't take my work home with me. I'm like, not to say I'm lazy, like I wouldn't take a call after hours or something, but just that was my mentality.
But you gotta set boundaries. Like salespeople will burn themselves out if you don't have good boundaries.
And I think that's why I had been let go from sales jobs before at great companies that I had mentioned before. And I think a lot of it was because I spent tons of time being like, do I really love sales? Is this really what I want to be doing? And in the back of my mind, I had all these like aspirations of like being a business owner and like doing something a little bit more creative to make money. And it was like one or the other. And so then I got a chance to freelance for a bit. And I just, your job doesn't have to be your identity. And I think for a long time, I really tied up like what your job was with your whole identity. And so over the time that I was freelancing, I recognized like I can have a job for this company, work really hard and do well at this company. And that, but the way that I thought about it was like, they're paying me for my time and they pay me for this much time every week and I can give them that. And, but my identity is still around these businesses that I want to grow.
Yeah. And it's not, and you can do different things and wear multiple hats and it's not a big deal. Like you can be successful in multiple areas of your life. If it's like when I heard somebody talk about like relationships, it was like, it's not a 50-50, it's 100-100, right? Like I get everybody gives 100%.
Yeah.
Otherwise it doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of, that would be the same principle. Like I have this, I have my side gig, and I have this, and whenever I'm focusing on that project, it gets 100% of my time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Being present, being all in on whatever you're doing in front of you.
Yeah. And so you really got to, get some schedules. And, the hardest thing for me has been having to like give things up at certain times. You're like, dang, I really want that, but maybe not yet.
Yeah.
But it's all around though. It's like really fun. And it's really like, this conversation is really important now in today, because so many people, like, especially in Utah, like you almost have to have a side hustle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and by the way, like, I don't care what you call it. You have two jobs or a job and a side hustle. It's like, it is what it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I just choose a side hustle versus like a second job, and it works out pretty good.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's nice because I also, I have a course, like a virtual assistant course. And I view that the same way. Like when you have a 9-to-5, it's a great opportunity to network and to get, and to get experience and to be around awesome people. And by the way, they pay you for it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
What am I, it's just like, okay.
And especially now, insurance is great to have.
Yeah, dude. Seriously. It's like, all right, I can leverage, it's about leverage. Like I can leverage the hours between 8 o'clock and 5 o'clock. I can leverage that for money and for insurance and for stuff, and then between 6 and 10, I can leverage that time for my other stuff, you know, and it's just, but I like sales as a 9-to-5 because it's, like I said, it's just not that hard. I don't know. I feel like people in the entrepreneurial world and like this hustle world, we like to romanticize hard. I'm not saying simple is easy, but we like to make things harder than they are, I think.
Yeah. What do you mean by that?
So I think that for salespeople, like we just like to make things hard.
Yeah.
Like
overthink and really complicate the process.
Yeah. Like overthink it, analysis paralysis.
Definitely.
We get really granular on things.
Yeah.
That I think is fine. Like I, people like really dig in 5 or 6 steps, and I'm like, dude, I hustle, bro. I'm just a hustler, dude. I'll find a way to make it work. And, there
are different types of salespeople for sure. I'm one of the, so a friend of mine who used to work at Lucid, he's one of the like, give me a phone, I'll call people and I'll sell. Like he's just has that hunger and that hustle. And I love like efficiency and productivity.
Yeah.
And I like having tools that help me be better. So like, like every job I've ever started at, I'm like a little slower to ramp because I get really caught up in finding like a process and a framework that works for me and like a workflow. And so I get analysis paralysis bad sometimes.
Well,
but at the end of the day, you have a list of people, pick up the phone and call people. So it's finding that balance between like keeping the main thing,
right?
Like pick up the phone and call, you know, like,
or like we complicate and like, and I wrote this on Twitter the other day, like complication, like it doesn't sell, like simple sells, right? And so like, why are we making things harder than they have to be? And I say they as like a general sales, community, like sometimes we make things harder than they have to be. So for example, like we think, so one of my hot takes, and I've said this tons of times, but one of my hot takes is like, if you can sell a car, you can sell tech. Like there's different nuances.
Yeah.
But like I could drop you in a dealership, you'd be fine, dude. It's not a big deal.
I don't know that I'd be happy, but maybe I would. I don't know.
No, you wouldn't. Yeah. Feelings aside, like, I'm saying like in a perfect world, like logistically, you'd be okay.
Yeah. I mean, cause the framework is the same a lot of the time. Yeah. When you boil it all down and make it simpler.
People were trying to punk me. They were like, I was really successful selling cars. Like that's where I cut my teeth. And they were like, you can't sell tech. And I was like, okay. Yeah, I can. Actually I can. And actually it's not as hard as you thought, as you said it was.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to clown you because I can do both. And it's like, but that's why, like, why do we say that? Like, why do we do that? Like sales is a universal skill. Like if you know how to sell and you got like, and I got like, if my boss called me right now, cause he's listening to the podcast on Facebook and he said, you're fired, I'd have a job before I walked out the door. Cause I know how to sell.
Yeah. True.
Like
that's what, I mean, I've kind of always had the same mentality. Like, that I'm never that scared to lose a job, like, because I feel confident in being able to, because I feel like I crush interviews and like that's selling myself.
Yeah.
So like
exactly.
in the same way, I have confidence that like I can absolutely go to.
And I think once you get more experience, I think everybody should be fired from a job once in their life.
Totally.
Because it's like it gives you experience. Like I've been fired from a job, and that was pretty controversial because I'll die on the hill that it wasn't my fault. But I got fired, and I was like, and then he said we're gonna have to let you go, and then I blinked, and I was still alive.
Yeah,
and I did fine.
Sun goes down, sun comes back up.
Yeah, I didn't die.
Yeah,
and it was like, and by the way, I walked home because the job was pretty close, and before I got home, I had a job.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I picked up the phone. I called a buddy. I was like, hey, homie, where you at? Do they need people?
Yeah.
He was like, yep. I was like, great, see you tomorrow.
It's my first instinct too. I mean, looking back, it took me a while to realize, but I probably got fired rightfully so. I think that, but I mean, not that anything bad happened. I don't think I was giving them as much of me as I probably should have. It was in that phase of life that I was telling you about where I was kind of like, is this really
but everybody goes through that.
You know?
It's not a big
deal. So I lost that job and then went and sold fuel cards with England Logistics. And it really made me value working at a tech company and how just much nicer life was. And so I, one of those, I didn't know what I had till it was gone sort of thing. Right. And so I revalued, I saw how lucky I was to work there.
Yeah. Everybody there's another saying that I'm going to get it tattooed on me one day, but it's like, there's something sacred about getting your ass kicked.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. Like,
totally.
Should get your ass kicked.
Definitely.
Everybody should get their ass
metaphorically.
kicked. Metaphorically or physically. Like one of the other cool things was
whatever
like,
your problem
one time I was on top. One time I felt on top and I was like, I want to do jiu-jitsu. And I was really good at wrestling, but and I knew a little bit about jiu-jitsu and blah, blah, blah. But like jiu-jitsu is great because you literally physically get your ass kicked. And not only do you get your ass kicked, but you get your ass kicked by people who you wouldn't look at on the street and be like, he can kick my ass.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful.
Yeah.
That's even more beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like when you go up against somebody and you're like, I'm going to crush this. And they totally slaughter you. It's beautiful. And I use that word intentionally.
Yeah.
Like it's great.
Yeah.
You should. I think, I saw somebody on Twitter and he used the wrong word, but I got the spirit of what he was saying. And he said everybody should get bullied. And I don't think that's the right word.
Gotcha.
What he meant to say was everybody should get their ass kicked.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a difference.
Everyone should face some adversity.
Face some adversity.
Have their face rubbed in the dirt a little.
Yeah, really like get taken back because there's humility that comes from that. There's learning that comes from that. So 100% he said the wrong word.
Yeah.
Full stop. I don't believe in bullying, but what he was trying to say was like, and I heard this on a podcast one time where somebody was like running their mouth and the host of the podcast said, he was like, you hang around people who let you say that. Like he was being really disrespectful. Like I could beat anybody's ass, all this stuff. And he's like, no, you couldn't. And he's like, and your friends, you hang around people who let you say those kinds of things and let you think that way.
Yeah.
And then you get in the real world and it's not the case.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So it's like, just be a little more humble. Like life will come around and humble you.
Absolutely.
And so I thought that was funny. And just back to your point, like I like this. I'm just going to say it again because it's like people feel bad if they have a 9-to-5 and they're in this kind of entrepreneurial world.
Yeah.
And like you can't have a 9-to-5 to be an entrepreneur. I don't think that's real.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but
I think that, I don't know. So I think sometimes maybe people romanticize what a side hustle is and like make it like a bigger thing than it really is. Like, I don't think that have anything necessarily all that special other than like a stubborn belief that I actually can have whatever I want. Like,
yeah. Well, and it's just fun too. It's like you can make money and have fun.
And that's why I never feel burnt out. Like last night I was up to like 2 a.m. editing photos that I had to deliver to a brand. And like, it didn't feel like work. I wasn't upset about it.
You're just like chilling.
Yeah, I was just up hanging out editing.
Because it's also really fun to edit. Like if you're good at it and to see like the beginning and the end. Like I've done a little bit with these cameras, but just like family stuff. Like I'm not a professional or even like amateur photographer. Like
but just like whatever.
It's cool though.
Yeah.
You get a good shot. And I like me. Speaking for me only, like I get lucky and get a good shot, and I'm like, wow, that's cool.
Yeah. Honestly,
that's
these
beautiful.
cameras are insane. Anybody can pick up a camera and
be decent
and be most of the way there. Like that next level does come with like an eye and like an artistic ability to like put photos together and tell a story and stuff like that. But like anybody can pick up a camera these days and be most of the way there. Like, cameras do all the work. Like I've never shot film or anything like that, because it's a whole other ballgame.
Yeah, film's
like,
hard.
Looking through this camera, it's not like a live viewfinder. Like I'm not seeing what's actually in front of me. It's digital. So as I change the settings, it'll show me what the picture's gonna look like.
Right.
For example, it was really dark in here, but I cranked up the ISO to make it brighter.
Oh yeah.
In the camera, it would look brighter. So I don't know. It just, and then it does everything for you.
Mm-hmm.
But like shooting film, you have no idea what it's gonna look like till you've taken the photo, sent it off, and it's like, oh, I did that all wrong.
Yeah.
So that's just me saying like I could never shoot film. At least I've never tried, because it's
I've tried to shoot
all the work for you.
I've tried to shoot film and I did okay. I think with side conversation, by the way. I think the R6 has in stabilization, right?
Yeah.
These ones don't.
Yeah.
So like it's hard. Like you're looking on your hand and it's like, oh.
That's part of the reason I bought it, is because I'm just kind of shaky. Like I don't know. I'm just kind of shaky. So you want just like,
I
wanted something that would
stabilization.
Help capture things a little sharper, especially because I'm like a frantic photographer. Like I'm like running and gunning and moving around a lot, and so I wanted something that could try and bring that down and like capture a still photo.
Yeah. And one of the missions that I have, that I feel like I have in life, is to like expand people's minds and really help people understand that it's okay not to be the next Jeff Bezos.
Totally.
Or Warren Buffett. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
Like if you want to do that, dude, give me a shout out when you get to the top.
Yeah.
If I gave you the idea. Yep. Right. Like, but if you don't, like, it's not a big deal. It's fine. But people don't understand. Like people have this mindset of like, I'm not going to do anything if it's not a $1 million idea. And I had a conversation with a really excellent entrepreneur who said, he was like, he's like, you're never going to recognize $1 million idea if you haven't tried your $1,000 idea or your $10,000 idea.
Totally.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or your $100,000 idea. Like, you don't know. Like you know, $1 million idea would come up and slap you in the face and you'd have no clue.
Yeah. Someone could hand it to you. You wouldn't know what to do with it.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Like there's levels to this.
Definitely.
Like I love this. And I talk about this too, but it's this idea that, maybe the podcast will be done one day, because I feel like I've said everything I wanted to say. But one of the things that I talk about is like, you know, you want $1 million business, but you wouldn't recognize it. You wouldn't know what to do with it, because think about the lottery. So I don't know if you're familiar with like I grew up in Iowa. Lottery's big. Yeah. Like everybody goes there. Most of the lottery winners come from impoverished states. So like they come from poverty. Yeah. Right. How many lottery winners do you know? How many people, successful business owners, do you know got their start by winning the lottery? None. That I can. And that's a reason for
the
that.
Numbers are crazy. Like almost all of them end up broke.
100% of them end up broke.
Oh, okay.
Not like 99, because the FDA makes you put 99 on there just to be safe, right? Yeah. It's like 0. And it's because like it's a mindset. It's not like giving people $1 million in a trailer park only makes them not poor for a little longer. Yeah. Exactly. It's like you have to know what to do with that, and you have to like have the mindset around it. And by the way,
athletes all the time too.
Yeah, it happens to athletes too. Absolutely. And I always got to put the caveat on there. Like I'm from, if this is somebody's first time listening to the podcast, I'm from the poorest county in Iowa, and 95% of us were on food stamps. We all had free lunches. Like I know what it's like, and I know how difficult it is. But my point is like you have to grow and you have to learn. And you have to like mold yourself into being financially responsible. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like, you can't just say, if I have $10 million, then I'll be financially responsible. Yeah.
Somewhat like I could book a client that wanted to pay me even like $100,000 or something like over the course of a year. And I would be terrified, like overwhelmed of like I don't know. Like even now I'm just in like the baby phases of like this being a real business. Yeah. And I look forward and I don't totally know what it looks like. Like I'm still looking at like my very next step as far as like acquiring another client.
Which is great.
And
there's nothing wrong with that. It's like, dude, if you like, by the way, I've learned that, like, my background is in accounting and stuff like that. And most businesses don't fail because of a lack of money.
Mm-hmm.
They actually fail because they scale too quickly, or because they, or because their money's just wrong. Like, most businesses don't fail because their cash flow is bad.
Yeah, they get mismanaged.
Or they scale too quickly. Like, it's a problem if no one's buying your products. It's also a problem if you have 10,000 people buying your products and you only have 100.
Yeah.
That's also a problem.
Definitely.
That's also how we get scammed on TikTok. Happened to me once.
Yes.
I bought a $14, like, it was like a coin, it was like a ring game, like where you moved it.
Thing.
Yeah, like,
the shot glass
like,
thing.
Yeah, the shark toss. Yeah. I bought one for, like, and it was like $15, so I was like, whatever. But I think what happened was
that person sold way too many.
they blew up on TikTok, right? Because TikTok's the Wild West and has no algorithm.
Yep.
And they put gas on the fire, and they only had 100, and they sold 100,000.
Yeah.
That's how you go bankrupt. You get blacklisted on every merchant account that you ever, like, you can't get a merchant account anymore.
Yeah.
Nobody will sell it to you.
That's terrifying.
Yeah. Well, but that's what I'm saying. Like, you have to, like, ease into it. It's like, oh, if I had 100,000 sales to solve all my problems.
Yeah.
Probably not, dude.
Something I was thinking about that you said, like, everybody wants to be Jeff Bezos, or like it's okay if you're want to be an entrepreneur and you're not going to, like, be at that caliber. Like, I've kind of always thought that, like, I'm not trying to, like, take over the whole pie. I just know that this is a pretty big pie and I want my piece of it. You know what I mean?
That's a great way to put it. And that's how people should look at it. It's like, that's how I think about it. Like, I go in here and I'm like, and I get flack, you don't have big enough thinking, your thinking's limited. And I'm like, but it's not, because I don't care.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and there's some study somewhere about, like, there's a threshold, like, once you make over a certain amount per year, that, like, there's no evidence of any kind that says that, like, happiness is improved.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, that's accurate. You just got to find which, and does it really matter? That's the other thing, is, like, I know rich people who are miserable. I know poor people who are happy.
Yeah.
I know poor people who are miserable. I know rich people who are happy.
Yeah.
I know rich people who think they're rich, but they're actually two missed paychecks away from being homeless.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I know poor people who got all their shit together.
Yep.
I don't know, dude. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just go have fun, dude.
Yeah.
Just go have fun. Go make a little bit of dough, help people.
Be nice to people. Yeah. Be happy. Like
it's not that big of a it's not that big of a deal. And that's just what I kind of want to. I kind of want to temper the waters, because you either have, like, Grant Cardone and Gary Vee.
Yeah.
These guys, you got these, and by the way, they're awesome. Like, I've spent a lot of money with Gary Vee. I spent a lot of money with Grant Cardone. But you got these guys, right? And then you got, like, the naysayers.
Yeah.
And I'm just, like, trying to temper the field. It's like, I love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Like, you want to start a business just because you want to start a business and have fun and learn?
Yeah.
Great, dude.
Yeah.
Because, like, learn.
And
make a little bit of dough.
That's another thing that popped into my head when you were saying something, is that like, a lot of people might not think that they have any, like, super great idea, or that they are, have any super important skill that's going to make them able to be an entrepreneur or something like that.
Yeah.
But the existence of the internet enables you to monetize any sort of anything.
You
hobby.
just have
anything can be a business. You can be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
The existence of the internet just makes it all so easy and so possible. Like, you can set up a store and be selling stuff in an hour,
or
like Shopify,
or you can watch 50 hours of YouTube
100%
on Spotify about Shopify and charge other people to build their Shopify stores.
Yep.
Right. Like, you don't even have to sell anything.
Absolutely.
You can be like, dude, you don't want to set up a Shopify store? I got you, bro. Like, let me help you.
Totally.
Yeah. Like, because, I have to drop ship. I have to do this. I have to do that. Like, if you want to do that, it's all great, dude. But there's other, and I love that there's other avenues. Like, you don't have to do this. You don't have to do that.
Yeah.
You don't have to come from this mold. Like, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Because people get caught up in this idea that, again, like, I have to sell something, or, like, I have to create a SaaS company. Like, another great way to make money that I learned that I'm going to explore this year in 2022, if I can, is flipping businesses. Like, you can go on Micro Acquire. Do you know what this? No. Okay. So Micro Acquire sells SaaS companies, like micro SaaS companies. So buy a micro SaaS company, scale it a little bit more, turn around and flip it back.
Damn.
That's possible. Like now I don't have to go through any growing pains. I take the processes that I think could be better, make them better, fix them up a little bit, get it to where I want it to be. You get a company, you take a company from 5K MRR to 20K MRR, you can flip that and sell that, make 500K in 6 months. Or a year, or 2 years, however long it takes. Right?
I've heard of selling like Shopify stores, like getting it all set up to where manufacturer fulfillment, like the whole
and then
being like, I don't want to do this anymore, and other people doing that same thing but with SaaS companies.
Yeah, like
that's so cool.
Like a little SaaS company, like a little calendar company. Like the where the guys are like, I don't want to do this anymore. Yeah, they're like, cool, I'll plug in a few things.
Yep.
Not get it running. Ship it off to somebody else.
Yeah, some other company can buy us for the little bit of code you built. Like
flip. And you can go on MicroAcquire, find a company for $10,000.
That's so
20
cool.
grand, and you're like, I don't have 10 or 20 grand. Cool, but the SBA does, and they'll give it to you.
Yeah,
and it's a business loan, and you can secure it with the company. And there's ways to do it and be fine.
Damn,
right?
You're way smarter with that stuff than me.
Well, like it's just, and that's kind of why I started this. Right? It's not because I'm smarter. I'm just helping people expand their
you're
mind.
Experienced.
Yeah, like I'm just like you don't want to start a company at all, but you want to be an entrepreneur. Cool, go buy one. Yeah, buy, build, sell. That's a book. That's somebody wrote that, and that's where I learned it because I just like writing. I like reading books too, and I'm like, damn, that's a good idea, dude.
Yeah,
you could totally do that.
No, I never would have thought about that.
So, how do you exit how do these SaaS companies exit or get ready for IPO? One of the critical points that you have to hit to IPO or do these things is acquisition. Like there is a threshold where it becomes cheaper to acquire a company to boost your IPO versus building it internally. There's pros and cons to both.
Totally.
But there is a threshold to where like, we're just going to buy this company and acquire all of it.
Yeah.
And then
Pluralsight did that a bunch of times while I was working there. They bought these little companies and then just made that part of their platform.
Yep. Like to IPO. Yeah. Because it's cheaper because you have to acquire things to IPO.
Yeah.
Yeah. For
That's
sure.
Cool.
So yeah, dude. And by the way, what a stellar exit.
Yeah.
Get bought by Pluralsight. Who's going to say, okay, sounds good, bro. Cool.
Yeah. And I think if I remember right, every company we bought, like no one got let go. Like we just melded them into
you just negotiate that. Yeah. You're like, oh, you want to buy my company? Cool. Sounds like I got all the cards.
Yeah.
You're going to take me and my team.
Yep.
And you're going to pay us what you want. Because I know who you are. But yeah, so there's just like things like, and by the way, you can do that. Like, so do you know how like real estate's getting really saturated with like all of these different ways, wholesaling real estate, flipping houses, all this shit. You can do that with businesses. You can wholesale businesses. You can do.
Never would have thought of that.
Zero down house buying. You can zero down. You can zero down business buy.
That sounds so smart. Like that's something I would be way more interested in is finding something that's like already running a little bit and like somebody either
you like processes?
Totally.
Go plug them in and get it up and then sell it. 100%. List it on MicroAcquire. Somebody will buy it and then go.
That's something that I could get into for sure.
Yeah, dude, because it's like what you
I geek out on like efficiency and productivity. And
so yeah, go find these guys and because dude, every one of those places on MicroAcquire, the bottom part is we don't want to do it anymore. That's the reason.
Damn.
It's and like, okay, are they trying to make some money? Of course, dude. Everybody's trying to make some money, but they don't have time, man.
Yeah.
So go find one that you like.
That's a really good idea.
And then what do you do? How do you figure this out?
It's talking a year. I'll tell you where I'm at.
Well, you go like this. You go, how do I find the people to fill these holes? Bro, I know I could pick up a phone right now and find people to help you write the code. We could go overseas and find all of our people that we needed to run this stuff. Like we don't have to do, I love Fiverr. I know some people hate Fiverr. I love Fiverr.
Yeah.
Love it. I also love Twitter. You can go on Twitter and find some homies on Twitter who will help you run this.
I've heard so many people love Twitter and
it's great.
I don't know. I feel like I haven't found my.
You got to find, that's what I was going to say. You got to be real careful which Twitter you go to, bro. Yeah. Like I'm in the NFT copywriting Twitter.
Okay.
Sales.
I was on, so I had heard that because Instagram is no longer a photo sharing app and is like really trying to compete with TikTok and just pushing reels and video and stuff like that. That there was this mass like exodus and everybody went over to Twitter to post their photos and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that's why I really started one.
Photography, Twitter is great.
Has not taken off for me, but I know plenty of people who have blown up on Twitter with their photography. So
you just got to find the right.
I also don't pay enough, like nearly as much attention to it as I do my Instagram. Like if I started to like curate my Twitter the way that I would Instagram, I'm sure it would.
Well, and
I'm not giving it the attention.
I listened to a marketer who said you have to have, it's smart to have two different or like 2 or 3 accounts not owned by the same company. Like be active, not by the same company. So like Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
But not Instagram, Facebook, WhatsApp.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah.
Because like when Instagram went down that day, everybody went like, Twitter was up. We were fine.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh shoot, my Instagram's down. I'll just go to Twitter.
Yeah.
Like I'm cool. I got Twitter or I got my email or whatever. Right.
Yeah.
But it's cool. Like, but so that's one of the theses of the podcast is like just helping expand. Like you don't have to build a SaaS company from the ground up and be a unicorn.
Yeah.
Go buy one, scale it, sell it. You made $500K, you made $20K, whatever, dude. I don't know, whatever you want to make.
And I feel like some people might just think like, I'm not that type of person. Like I don't have all that expertise and savvy. It's like, no, maybe not all of it, but you got something.
Dude, just start Googling stuff or message me.
True.
Like, bro.
And YouTube University, man.
Go read a book.
Absolutely anything.
Go. Yeah, it's and talk to some. And but here's the other thing. Here's what's crazy is like, okay, so Warren Buffett auctions off a opportunity to eat lunch with him every year, charity auction.
Yeah, I've heard of this.
To eat lunch with Warren Buffett, the last auction went for $4.3 million. That's how much it costs to eat lunch with Warren Buffett, if he even wants to meet with you for lunch.
Yeah.
Okay. But you can go find a really successful CPA here in Utah. If you want to learn about business acquisition, look up, there's a ton of CPAs in Utah. Go look one of them up, engage on their stuff for a little bit, and then message him and say, hey, I have some business acquisition questions. Would love to take you out for lunch and pick your brain for an hour.
Yeah.
Would you do it? 99% of people will say yes.
The idea of getting a mentor is something that has been so top of mind for me recently.
Yeah.
Just because, like I said, I'm in these baby steps where like I can barely see the next step ahead of me as far as growing this into a business that I could do full time, that would give me the lifestyle that I wanted, that would, that could really be something like, and I just have no idea what it looks like. And so I've been thinking like, I'd like to, start looking around, investing in the idea of having a mentor that could, that knows how to build businesses, that's better at marketing and branding than I am.
Yeah. And there's tons of people. There's tons of people. And you just gotta be intentional about what you're doing. Because there's a lot of really successful people out there who are ready to just help.
Yeah.
Like I met a guy. So one of the big guys who's been on my podcast, there's 2. Chemo Mac is the owner of Mobetas.
Oh, wow.
And then Rob Pilecki, who is the CEO founder of Washi. He was on Shark Tank.
Oh, okay.
Dude, super cool guy. His podcast will be released here in a little bit, but dude, both of them will go out to lunch. Like Chemo Mac is in the restaurant industry. That dude is a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
Or I don't know. I think he is. I don't know if he actually is.
That's my guess.
But I mean, dude, he's not only that, Chemo Mac is the salt of the earth. That dude, I mean, he was like guest 13 on my podcast. I didn't know anything. And he was still willing to come and sit down and hang out with us.
That's awesome.
And tell us everything, all about how he builds Mobetas and how he builds his businesses. And like, sure, would he say yes to every day doing lunch or like a long-term? Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. But he would do it with you.
Yeah.
He would let you pick his brain. And like, people don't understand that.
Yeah.
Like they don't realize like that when you go to these McDonald's, like that these are franchises.
Yeah.
And that they have owners. They have like that are local.
Mm-hmm.
And by the way, if you own a McDonald's, you had to spend $1 million to get it at least.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And they'll tell you how to do it. I don't know but I also talk to people who they hate franchising. I don't know. But you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
Go buy a bit. Yeah. I love this idea. I'm exploring it in 2022. I'm going to dig deep and I'm going to try it.
Yeah.
flipping a SaaS company. That's one of my goals.
I can't wait to hear about it.
Because I don't know, it's going to be, because how do you get a loan for that? By the way, 0 down. You can do it.
I wouldn't even know how to go about that.
There's a few ways. I mean,
yeah.
But also, like, you don't know how. Okay, that's cool. Like, not very many people do, but your CPA knows how.
Totally.
Like they can walk you through something like that.
Yeah.
Go find somebody. Post on LinkedIn, post on Facebook, all this shit.
Yeah, I think for a while there was like a level of pride where I didn't like. I wanted to just try and learn and do everything by myself, but now I'm seeing more and more the value in just like skipping that step by finding someone that I can trust that knows how to do it, that can help me. Like in a lot of cases, it's worth the investment.
Well, here's the thing. You're not skipping the learn on your own step.
Mm-hmm.
You're skipping the you don't know what you don't know step.
Yeah.
Because like most mentors are going to be like, look, this is what you do. And you're going to go do it. And you're going to be like, this mother lied to me.
Yeah.
Like I had that experience one time where he was like, no, you need to do this, this, and this. Right. And I was like, how the heck this guy, I go back and I'm like, dude, what the heck, man? I did all this stuff. It didn't work. And he's like, no. You got to like work it and figure it out. And there's nuances, right? So you're not skipping the work on your own, learn on your own step.
Gotcha.
You're skipping the figuring out to the last minute step.
Yeah.
Because they'll tell you, but it's still going to be hard.
At least
like
the direction, like that.
Exactly.
Like,
you're getting direction. You're not getting, it's like take this path instead of you wandering onto the path, right? Because there's still going to be a lot of learning. It's still beautiful. It's still a lot of learning. It's still a lot of all this stuff, right? But it's just going to be better with a mentor. They'll tell you what's going on, and and there's a lot of nuances. That's great, dude. Like they'll give you the way, they won't do it for you, right?
Yeah.
So it's cool. Like there's a lot of cool things you can do with that. But I really love this idea that our conversation, like there's nothing wrong with, like I have a 9 to 5. I'm proud of it. I'm like, actually, I love the company I work for, love my team, love what I do. I think I would go crazy if I wasn't at home.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. My wife would kill me.
Yeah.
She'd be like, she's said a few times, like when we were working from home, she's like, you got to get out of here. you got to go.
I love the energy of the office. I was in the office for like 2 weeks and they sent everybody home because everybody got sick.
Oh, really?
So now we've been home for like a month now and I miss the energy of the office. Like,
it's great, dude. Yeah, it's awesome. So anyway, but I really appreciate you coming on, Michael. I really appreciate our conversation.
I'm glad that we were introduced.
Yeah. We found each other on LinkedIn. Great place.
Well, Zach Bond told me to reach out to you.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love Zach.
Because him and I were talking about stoicism. And he's like, want to know who else loves stoicism? And he found out I had a podcast with my brother, kind of. Like my mom listens to it. That's pretty much it. But like, he was like, you want to know who else has a podcast? He's like, you have a lot in common with this guy. You should chat to him. So that's why I messaged you.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Okay. He said that because I'm a huge Stoic fan.
Yeah.
So I just posted recently, got a little bit of flack for this idea that I said, less psychology of sales, more philosophy of sales.
Totally.
And I wrote a post that was the philosophy of sales, and I put Stoicism was the philosophy of sales. And I got so much flack for that.
Then you must have said something good.
Yeah, I was like, well, okay. The one guy was like, he said, I have ADHD, diagnosed ADHD. Most people in the sales world have ADHD.
I do.
Diagnosed or undiagnosed. But like I had it, like a doctor told me. He didn't have to. Everybody knew it. Whatever. That's not the point of the story. The point of the story is I wrote that article and some guy was like, no, Stoicism doesn't work for people with ADHD. And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? I'm like, is it a little harder for me to do certain things? Sure. But not really.
Yeah.
Like,
everybody knew, but I had never actually seen a doctor for it. But like 2 weeks ago, I actually finally was officially diagnosed with ADHD.
Yeah.
And I mean, I found Stoicism like a year and a half ago. And I feel like it's helped my brain more than like a medication has so far. Like
totally.
It's changed the way that I think, my perspective on things. Like I have less panic attacks because of Stoicism.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
My overall generalized anxiety is lower because of Stoicism. Like, and it's just nothing, like when you break it all down in those Ryan Holiday's books, especially, like nothing is the most revolutionary idea ever. And that's the beauty of it, is that like, the same problems have existed for like as long as people have been writing.
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. And so just, I like it because it gave me ways of thinking and like perspective that just helped all of that stuff go away.
It brings you back down to earth.
Totally.
What Ryan Holiday book did you read first?
Obstacle is the Way. It's the first one that I read.
Cool.
Yeah.
I love Ryan Holiday. I love all of that. The first book I read, because I was introduced to Stoicism probably when I was a kid, and it was like Meditations, Seneca, Epictetus, and funny enough, like I don't bring this up a lot, but I'm LDS and I went on a mission. I went on like an LDS mission, things like that. I'm still very active. I love. For me, it's personally for me, it's good for me. But funny enough, I learned a lot about Stoicism from the LDS Church, from my religion, because there's a lot of similarities and people didn't notice that. And I was like, yeah, there's actually a lot in there. Yeah. And I also get a lot of flack for that in my church. I get a lot of, I just say things like, and sometimes I'm wrong, but sometimes I'm right.
Yeah. I mean,
so you get mad at me either way, but it's cool. Like, but it's whatever. I don't care. Yeah. Cause
I mean, you shared, I grew up Greek Orthodox. My dad took me to church until I was like 12 or 13 or something. And it just never hit for me. I was like, this isn't for me. And so I grew up for a long time being like, I don't believe in any of that. I don't believe in anything. And then now that I'm getting older and I just feel like learning about myself and the world, I'm like leaning back towards a direction of like, well, I definitely believe in something. Anyway, I tell people that like Stoicism is like my religion. It's like my Bible. It's my structure. It's my framework. Like,
it's great.
It's everything for me.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think it's great. Like I learned, like learning more about Stoicism helped me apply my religion better.
That makes total sense.
You know what I mean? It was like, it helped me enhance my spirituality. So yeah, there's definitely, and I don't know. I think you have to have something. I think philosophy is a great answer for the problems that we face in sales. Like I've changed my goals. Like my goal setting isn't the same. Like I don't set goals around sales. Yeah. Because like you can't control that.
Yeah.
Like, and by the way,
goals around the inputs.
The inputs, and not only the inputs, but like the habits, because like, right. Because here's the thing is like, we love the salespeople who can just crush it. Right. Like when I was in car sales, we loved the 50 car a month guys, but then the next month they were at 0 and they were brain damaged and we had to pay them way too much money. Right. Like I would, and where do you go with that? Like, because again, it's the same thing with the lottery scenario. Like if you don't have habits of money, you can't be successful with money. And like, so my goals in sales are around building good habits, which is a principle of Stoicism.
Habits and systems.
Yeah. Like habits, like I'm going to make 50 phone calls today, period. If I get 0, I'm still going to make 50. Yeah. If I get all 50, I'm still going to make 50. Like, because it's not about what happens. It's about building habits that create successful salespeople, because successful salespeople don't make one call one day, 100 calls the next day, skip calls for 3 weeks, and then make fit. Like that's not a successful salesperson. Yeah. They're consistently habitual with what they do. Agreed. And that's a Stoicism thing, right?
Totally.
So I think, but again, like I said, less psychology, like how does the brain work? Like you got to all these words trigger things in your brain. I'm like, no, why don't you just be a human being? Yeah. And like philosophy, like, as I approach customers and clients with Stoicism, right? Like with trying to embody that empathy and
And I think most of the time when I hear salespeople talk about psychology, it comes from a very manipulative place. And like, it's not like it's about triggering the right things to trick them into buying. Not trick necessarily, but it's like, I want to word this a certain way so that they're more likely to, I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
It feels sneaky and like they're using psychology to try and like win. Whereas I like the idea of a philosophy of sales more, because it's like, I don't know. I think it starts a layer deeper, like kind of Simon Sinek's start with why sort of thing, getting towards, And that feels, I think, better.
Yeah. And so the last part of the post was both are important. I said, both are important. One more than the other though.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, because I do believe in sales, and you know this, right? We all know this. Like, it's not what you say, it's how you say it.
Yes.
Right. So there is that layer of psychology that has to come into play. That's like, yeah, you could say that, but you probably should say it this way. Right?
Yeah.
If this is your message, you should paint a different picture. But like philosophy, like stop trying to like, I think salespeople get in this rut, get in slumps because number one, they haven't built the habits up, but number two, like they forgot, like you're in a slump and like no one cares.
Yeah. They get really caught in short term. And I feel like having a philosophy of sales helps you zoom out and look at like, okay, I had a bad day, I had a bad week. It's like, but I'm still like, I'm still doing well for my quarter. I'm still doing well for the year. And
I'm doing well for the quarter. I'm doing well for the year. I did what I was supposed to do today. Like,
and in sales, there's a finite number of levers to pull. Like when you're coaching a salesperson, almost always, it's not like an infinite number of things that you can change that'll make it better. Like a lot of the time it can be broken down to like, is it what you're saying on the phone? Is it who you're calling? Is it when you're calling? Like it's there's a certain number of levers to pull to try and help.
Yeah.
And so that's one thing.
Yeah, it's not secret.
Yeah, exactly. So, when you're in a slump or whatever, it's like the movie Moneyball gets used with sales a lot, like working backwards from your goal and stuff like that. Yeah. And so I just think that also ties into what you're saying as far as like, if you're in a slump and you're freaking out, it's like zoom out a little, realize like, are you doing what you're supposed to do? All right. That's step one. You're hitting all those activity metrics. Step two. Now, is it what you're saying on the phone? Is this a product knowledge issue? Like, is it a certain number of things that it could be?
Yeah. It's only, you're absolutely right. And I think coming from, that same line of thinking, it's also like, people forget too, that it's like an input. It's also like a physics equation. I don't know. I can't remember the law or anything, but it's the law of systems. Like if you input energy into a system and it comes out, like you lose energy during the system. So if you put 10 in, you get 8 or 7 or 8 out, right? Like that's how like energy works. Yeah. And so like, but also it comes back into like philosophy, not psychology. It's like, I've got to put enough in here to get this much out. Right. Yeah. And people miss that. They're like, I'm a 1-call closer. Yeah. I don't give a shit if you're a 1-call closer. Yeah. How many phone calls did you make? Yeah. Right. I hate like another hot take of mine was like, and I get the spirit of it. Like I understand why we would say, like outcomes over whatever, or like, I don't care if you make 50 phone calls or 1 phone call if you hit your goal. Yeah. Like I get it. Right. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I'm totally with you on that. But a good salesperson knows that that's not sustainable.
100%.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like if the first person you call of the day is the first person you close the day and your goal was to only close 1 person and you get complacent the rest of the day or content the rest of the day.
Exactly.
You're toast.
That's how you end up with these highs and lows.
That's how you end up in a sales slump.
200% of my quota, 0% of my quota, 0% of my quota.
Yeah.
It's
exactly.
just staying level-headed, putting in the things that you're supposed to put in, right. And then overall things will average out.
Yeah, exactly. I understand why sales leaders say that, and I understand why it sounds appealing. But like, if you're a good salesperson, you don't stop at the first win. Yeah. Like you don't,
if
right?
You're a 1-call closer, awesome. And you made your first sale in 5 calls. How much money would you make if you finished making the rest of your 50
call
calls?
50.
Like, don't you want more? Like,
call all 50.
Yeah, awesome. Do that times 10. Like,
yeah.
You'll be rich.
but it's about, but it just goes back to stoicism, like the philosophy of sales, which is like, you did great, man. So what? Mm-hmm. Like stoicism is also like, we don't get high and we don't get low. We stay right here. Like this is where we live. Like I won $1 million. I feel the same if I win $1 million, if I lose $1 million. Exactly. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like, cool. Like
temperance.
It's just right there, dude. Yep. Because eventually you're going to lose. Mm-hmm. Like what's that Winston Churchill quote? It's, oh gosh, dude, why am I blanking? It's like one of my favorites. Apparently not, but I'm behind the mic. Anyway, success isn't forever and failure isn't fatal. It's the courage to continue that counts. That's what he said. Right? Yeah. It's like, dude, success isn't forever and failure is not going to kill you. You'll be okay. You'll be all right. But yeah, I liked when Zach and I talked about Stoicism. I do enjoy that philosophy, along with like Buddhism. You know, I really love a great Stoic book. If you've never read it, is The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
I've not read
by
it yet.
Mark Manson.
I own the book. It's on the shelf.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
You put everything down and finish that one first.
Deal.
I would. That's what I would do.
Yeah.
I read that book, changed my life. He used a little too many F words.
Yeah.
But
I did watch a 30-minute YouTube video of him kind of breaking down the book.
Oh, dude, Mark Manson.
I still will read the book.
Mark Manson's a baller.
Yeah, amazing.
A baller. He a lot of really cool stuff in that book. Like the first chapter is called "Don't Try," and it's this counterintuitive approach to succeeding.
Yeah.
To like drawing in. So the I'll just sum it up, but you still got to read it because it's a great chapter.
I will promise.
Because he goes, "Don't try" is basically leveraging the paradox of control, the law of the paradox of control, which is the less you realize you have, the more you gain.
Definitely.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the less you realize, like I get in fights with this principle all the time, especially in my religious community, because I'm like, you don't have control. Well, because I also like to like the title, right? Like the subtle art of not giving a fuck. You're like, whoa, why is it like that? And it makes you want to learn. It makes you want to engage.
Yeah.
If anything, to prove it wrong, but you'll learn anyway.
Yeah.
So I always tell people, I go, like in my religious community, I go, you don't have control over your body. And they're like, you're lying to me. And then my next thing is like, okay, well, Michael, for the next week, you're not allowed to get sick or fatigued or tired.
Yeah.
And your brain isn't allowed to get foggy without your permission.
Yeah.
They're like, well, that's not the same thing. I'm like, that is the same thing, right? Like you can get a clean bill of health today from your doctor and then tomorrow get cancer.
Totally.
Because it just happens. Like,
yeah.
You know, you could be we've seen smokers live till 100 and never get anything.
Yeah.
And we've seen one dude take one hit and get lung cancer.
Yeah.
Why? I don't know, bro. I don't know, dude, but you can't control it. And so, yeah.
And that's not a cynical point of view. I feel like some people might hear that and be like, well, that's a pretty dark way to look at life. No, it's freeing as hell.
Yeah, that's right. That's the leveraging the paradox of control. It's like, oh, okay, so I get it now. Like the less I realize I have, the more I can double down on what I am in control of, which is like your attitude, your actions. And that's pretty much
something Stoicism helped me with a ton was that, and it sounds so simple, but like it helped me realize that like I actually really can change how I feel. And I feel like a lot of people want to disagree with that. Even I have, people that I know that really struggle with certain things. They're like, well, not everybody can. And that's, yes, to a degree, I'm sure some people struggle with things that other people don't. But for me, the realization that at any given point, no matter how horrible of a thing that's happened, like I can actually choose to not be upset by that. Yeah. And just that simple concept has made my whole life better. Like,
yeah. One of my favorite, before we wrap up, because I know we're up there, but one of my favorite stories of Buddhism and Stoicism, there's two. One of them is the boxing analogy that they use with things that happen to you. It's like you get into a boxing match, you and I get into a boxing match and you punch me in the face. I don't stop the match and say, hey, Michael, why the hell did you punch me in the face? Yeah. It's like, we're boxing, dude. What did you expect him to do? You know what I mean? It's like, that's life, right? Yeah. Like, why did that guy say that? Why did that guy? Because like, what else was he supposed to do, dude? Yeah. We're all on our path of life. So we know we all have different experiences. That guy could have been having a bad day, or maybe he is just a dick. Maybe he's a dick.
But if you wake up understanding that some people are dicks, you don't have to be so shocked when you encounter one.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe we can be a little more empathetic and be like, oh, he was having a bad day. Like maybe I should actually give a shit about somebody else other than myself today. Like, and then the other one is the arrow. The Buddhist story of getting shot with an arrow. Like getting shot with an arrow hurts. Like that's painful. And that illustrates the difference between pain and suffering. Like getting shot with an arrow is painful, but telling yourself a story as to why you got shot with an arrow is called suffering. And that lasts longer. Yeah. Right. Like the story is you got shot with an arrow, full stop.
Yeah.
Right. And it also is a great story to illustrate boundaries. So like, let's say I do get shot with an arrow and it was malicious intent. Like somebody actually went out of their way to shoot me with an arrow. That's great. Now I know I don't have to be around that person, but I also don't have to be suffering for that because at the end of the day, I got shot with an arrow. The story is all this up here, but at the end of the day, I don't have to suffer.
Yeah.
Like I can get away from you. I can heal my pain and I can move forward with my life.
On his podcast, he explains it in one of my favorite ways. And he goes, this thing that happened and it's bad is two things. It's like this thing happened and you've decided it's bad. In between stimulus and response is a space. And in that space is choice on how we respond to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And again, it's not the most revolutionary idea in the world,
right.
But I like his podcast because like he'll give you the stoic words and then he breaks it down. And Ryan Holiday is such a smart. I just love how he talks.
Oh, he's great.
Every way you know how like one person can tell you something and the other person says it almost the exact same way.
Yeah,
like that one clicked and that one didn't.
Yeah.
Whenever Ryan Holiday speaks, I'm like, yes,
that's it.
That worked for me.
Have you read his book Conspiracy?
I have not.
Oh,
no.
bro. Out of all of the books he's
was that his first one?
No.
Oh.
So he wrote Trust Me, I'm Lying, The Perennial Seller. Then he wrote his trilogy. But in between his trilogy, he wrote a book called Conspiracy. And now he's on to Courage is the Key. So I think that's all.
Courage is Calling.
Courage is Calling.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a great book. Just finished that one. But in between, I think it was Ego is the Enemy and Stillness is the Key. Or maybe it was right after. It was in when he was writing his trilogy. Yeah. He wrote a book called Conspiracy. And dude,
I think
it's a crazy story. About Peter Thiel, Hulk Hogan, and all these mad players in there. But the whole book is like this stoic journey of power. And,
yeah.
Oh, dude, it's unbelievable.
I'll add
book.
It to the list.
It's great. But anyway, yeah, Ryan Holiday. He's dude. Yeah, I joined the Daily Stoic. I bought like all of his coins. Like it's all beautiful.
Yeah, I have his Amor Fati coin on my desk.
Yeah, Amor Fati
tattoo sleeve is going to be Stoicism. This is Icarus. It's supposed to be temperance because I didn't like the traditional symbol of like watering down wine.
Oh
so for me, Icarus is also temperance.
Yeah,
don't fly too close to the sun. Kind of
thing.
But next week I get the owl and the lion, and the scales will go on my hand. And
I'm gonna finish up my sleeve with Memento Mori on there.
Yeah,
that's my favorite one. I think Memento Mori is the one that hit me the hardest.
Yeah, so Memento Mori and Amor Fati are going on both sides.
Yeah. It's got to. Amor Fati is great too, dude. Those two, I think, are my.
It's difficult. I love it. I get it. Amor Fati is hard.
Well, you know what though? I wrote this in my book. I wrote a sales book, and premeditato malorum is the philosophy of sales. That's the premeditation of evils. That's what I teach salespeople, and they're like, "Why would you?" I'm like, dude, because if I prepare for you to tell me no, it's not a surprise when you tell me no.
Yeah.
And I can just deal with it. Like, what were you supposed to do? Whip out your checkbook and write me a $50K check without asking any questions? No, dude, that's not real life. Like, premeditato malorum is the premeditations of evils, keeping everything that could go wrong in front of your mind's eye and realizing that when it goes wrong, you'll be okay.
Yeah, totally.
So yeah, dude, it's all great. But anyway, Michael, I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate our conversation, homie.
Absolutely. This was incredible.
Yeah, dude. Where can people find like your photography if they want to get involved?
My Instagram is probably the main thing. It's so it's my name, Mikal, but there's all double letters except for the M.
Yeah.
So it's MIIKKAALL. But also if my website has all links. So just michaelkelaidis.com, which is also spelled really funny. So you'll have to link it for them.
All right. That'll all be in there, bro. Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thank you for having me.
Okay, cool.
That was so